This is BRICS Global Television Network's weekly news roundup. We begin with the headlines. Brazil urges EU to delay December ban on deforestation linked to imports. China confirms Xi Jinping's attendance at the upcoming BRICS summit in Kazan, Russia. Alibaba stock surges 5% in Hong Kong after joining Stock Connect program. India's Adani Group denies involvement in the $310 million money laundering probe. And India's Ranveer Singh elected unopposed as Olympic Council of Asia president. Hello, I'm Juliet Newell. Brazil has urged the European Union to delay its upcoming ban on imports of products linked to deforestation, set to begin in December. The law will restrict goods like coffee, cocoa, soy, timber and palm oil if produced on land deforested after December 2020. Brazil, a major supplier of these products, called the legislation punitive and requested the EU to reassess it to avoid harming trade relations. The US and several other countries have also expressed concerns about the law's administrative burdens on farmers. Within the EU, some member states and parliamentarians have criticised the law for creating bureaucratic hurdles and potentially skewing competition. The EU has stated it is proceeding with the regulation and has offered technical assistance for compliance. Staying in Brazil, smoke from intense wildfires in the Amazon and other regions have spread to major cities like Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro and drifted into neighbouring countries. Satellite images revealed that 60% of Brazil has been affected, with the smoke spreading over roughly 10 million square kilometres, including parts of Argentina and Uruguay. Sao Paulo, Latin America's largest city, became the world's most polluted major city, with fine particle levels reaching 69 micrograms per cubic metre, nearly 14 times the WHO limit. Rio de Janeiro has recorded fine particle levels 5 times above the recommended limit. The fires, largely attributed to agricultural activities and worsened by Brazil's worst drought in 70 years, nearly doubled compared to last year. The situation worsened by climate change is unlikely to improve before October or November. China's foreign ministry has confirmed President Xi Jinping will attend the BRICS summit in Kazan, Russia from October the 22nd to the 24th. The summit, which includes Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, aims to strengthen economic ties and expand influence. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Xi will engage in strategic discussions during the event. Foreign Minister Wang Yi emphasized the strong mutual trust and deep friendship between Putin and Xi. The BRICS group now includes other emerging economies like the United Arab Emirates and Iran. Since Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, its economic and trade links with China have grown, despite Western sanctions. Russian authorities are prosecuting 3 former lawyers of opposition leader Alexei Navalny on extremism charges. Vadim Kobzev, Alexei Lipsta and Igor Sogonin face up to 6 years in prison for allegedly aiding Navalny's banned political activities. Navalny died in February under suspicious circumstances while serving a 19-year sentence for leading an extremist group. The trial, which began on Thursday in the Vladimir region, was moved behind closed doors after the lawyers were placed in a metal cage. Sogonin has pleaded guilty, while Kobzev and Lipsta deny the charges. This trial is part of a broader crackdown on Navalny's supporters, including the arrest of journalists and the blacklisting of his wife Yulia Navalnaya. In India, Sheikh Abdul Engineer Rashid, a jailed Kashmiri MP, has been granted interim bail to campaign for upcoming local elections in Indian-administered Kashmir. Rashid, arrested on terrorism funding charges, has been held in Delhi's high-security prison since his election in June. The region is preparing for its first local assembly elections in a decade, with voting starting on September the 18th. Rashid's bail allows him to campaign for his Awami Ittihad party, a new electoral force. He must return to jail on October the 2nd, though, the day after the polls close. The region, under direct rule since 2019, is heavily militarized and has been troubled by a long-running insurgency. To South Africa now, where the public health system has once again been thrust into the spotlight. And this next story is yet another one about mistreatment, poor communication and the appalling condition of one of the country's state hospitals. Well, just over a week ago, well-known South African former radio presenter Tom London was admitted to the Helen Joseph Hospital in Johannesburg. In a series of videos and posts on social media that went viral, London reveals what he experienced at the hospital and showed visuals of some of the facilities in a state of disrepair.
So welcome to the Helen Joseph Circus Hospital. These are the bathroom facilities for Ward 8. There's the bath. There is a cold tap which works, but no one baths here. Here I don't know what that door means or where it's supposed to go. Your basins. These are the toilets you get to choose from. You get to choose from toilet 1 or toilet 2, which is a bit better this morning. There's the toilet paper. Here, taps. What do you think it works? Nah, that tap doesn't work. Let's check the ceilings out. Well, they're peeling and flaking and stuffed, right? All of this is rusted. This is my bed. The plug doesn't work, it's blown. That's all rusted.
London, who initially sought treatment for a chest infection, detailed his distressing experience at the Helen Joseph Hospital. He described the medical staff's treatment as dehumanizing, stating patients were treated like cockroaches. His video highlighted non-functional medical equipment, poor infrastructure and negligence, including a disturbing account of a patient who died and was left unattended for hours.
The doctors that run around here, they treat the patients like cockroaches. No doctor, I haven't seen one doctor walk up to a patient in our ward and go, "Good morning, Mr. So-and-so, how are you?" Nothing. They treat the patients with absolute disdain and disrespect. I am so angry with you. This is the Helen Joseph Circus Hospital, where doctors experiment on you. Now, earlier on, I put a video up of the guy opposite me who was busy dying. I'm going to turn this camera around, right? He's dead. He died 20 minutes ago. He's lying there in that bed. He's actually gone. He's dead.
Following this video, Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi and Health MEC Nomantu Nkomo Ralehoko visited London and promised to address his concerns.
I had a meeting with the MEC for Health and the Premier of the province, Panyaza Lesufi. They came to my room here at this hospital and we had a 2-hour meeting with each other. A conversation even, not a meeting. We discussed my experience. The Premier apologized to me. But we also discussed the challenges they've got. We discussed possible solutions. I offered my thoughts, my input, what I thought could be done. And that we left on good terms.
London's plea underscores broader concerns about public health services in the province. The Gauteng Health Department issued a statement claiming they had met with clinicians and are satisfied that Tom had received adequate clinical care. However, they are aware of infrastructure issues which are being attended to as part of the maintenance and refurbishment program. And a Russian Soyuz spacecraft is launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, carrying 2 Russian cosmonauts, Alexei Ovchunin and Ivan Wagner, alongside US astronaut Donald Pettit. The Soyuz MS-26 lifted off at 7:23 p.m. Moscow time and successfully entered into orbit, as shown in live footage by Russia's Roscosmos space agency. Well, despite recent setbacks in Russia's space program, including the loss of Mars and lunar missions, space remains a rare area of US-Russia cooperation amid strained relations due to the Ukraine conflict. The launch was reported to have normal metrics, with the crew visible in their spacesuits. Meanwhile, SpaceX has achieved a milestone by conducting the first commercial spacewalk. The SpaceX Polaris Dawn mission, led by American fintech billionaire Jared Isaacman, launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, USA on Tuesday, reaching a record altitude of 700 kilometers. The crew, including Isaac Min and SpaceX engineer Sarah Gillis, performed extravehicular activity while testing new spacesuits with advanced features. The spacewalk lasted an hour and 46 minutes and marks a significant advance for commercial space exploration. NASA hailed it as a major step forward for the space industry. The Polaris Dawn mission is the first of 3 planned under the Polaris program, which aims to push the boundaries of space travel and technology. Coming up, BRICS Plus Business News.
The art of Africa goes jazz. South Africa has given rise to a number of jazz artists, from trumpeter Hugh Masekela to pianist Abdullah Ibrahim and vocalist Gloria Bosman and Sibongile Khumalo. Their uniquely South African strain of jazz has become an essential thread in the international jazz fabric. The latest torchbearer of that sound is Nduduzo Makhathini, a pianist and composer whose albums have made him a leading voice in African jazz. Not only is he a jazz artist, but Makhathini embodies the roles of teacher and historian.
Coming soon on BRICS Global Television.
You donated your kidney to a stranger. So can you talk us through how that came about?
The story actually starts with a Facebook post, interestingly. Samantha put out a message to her father that they were looking for a kidney for her father. And unfortunately, none of their family members were a viable match for him. And they were turning outwards to try to find someone to come forward to say this up. And when I saw the message, just something resonated and like a little light bulb. And I thought to myself, maybe that's something that I could do.
We begin in Russia, where the inflation rate eased slightly in August to 9.05% from 9.13% in July, but remains well above the central bank's 4% target. This persistent inflation is driven by substantial government spending on the Ukraine conflict, which has surged the economy's size but also pushed prices higher. The latest data follows a slowdown in economic growth, which fell to 4% in the second quarter from 5.4% in the first. Concerns of stagflation are rising as the central bank continues to raise interest rates to counteract inflation. While Russia plans to allocate nearly 9% of its GDP to defense and security this year. Chinese tech giant Huawei has launched the world's first triple folding phone, the Mate XT, at its Shenzhen headquarters. Priced at a whopping $2,800, over 3 times the cost of the latest iPhone 16, the Mate XT transforms into a 26-centimeter tablet and weighs 298 grams. The phone, which has garnered over 3 million pre-registrations, will be available for purchase from September the 20th. The launch follows Apple's introduction of the iPhone 16, designed for AI enhancements. Analysts suggest Huawei's new device may not significantly impact Apple's market share due to its high price and Apple's strong presence in China. However, it reinforces Huawei's position as a leader in the foldable phone sector. China's Alibaba stock has jumped over 5% in Hong Kong this week after joining the Stock Connect program, which allows mainland investors to buy Hong Kong shares. The upgrade to a primary listing last month facilitated the inclusion. Early trading saw Alibaba rise 5.2%, outpacing the Hang Seng Tech Index. The stock is anticipated to attract $20 billion in inflows, with mainland investors likely to acquire over 10% of the company. That's according to Bloomberg Intelligence. Despite recent underperformance and a 29% drop in quarterly profits due to weak consumer demand and regulatory pressures, Alibaba aims to leverage southbound capital flow through Stock Connect. In contrast, Chinese property stocks, including Shimao CIFI Holdings and Sino-Ocean Group, fell sharply after being removed from Stock Connect. Staying in China, the country's Commerce Minister Wang Wentao will visit Brussels this coming week to meet with the EU's trade chief Valdis Dombrovskis in a bid to prevent new tariffs on Chinese electric cars. The European Commission announced last month that it plans to impose import duties of up to 36% on these vehicles, pending approval by the EU's 27 member states by October. This move follows an anti-subsidy probe that found Chinese car manufacturers benefited unfairly from state subsidies. The tariffs would be in effect for 5 years. The visit comes amid growing divisions in the EU, with Spain's Premier Pedro Sanchez and Germany opposing the tariffs. China's already appealed to the World Trade Organization and launched probes into EU dairy and pork imports. Despite offers from Chinese exporters, the EU has rejected them and remains open to negotiations. India will see the return of French retail giant Carrefour by June 2025 through a franchise partnership with Dubai-based apparel group. This marks Carrefour's re-entry into the Indian market a decade after its departure in 2014, when it closed 5 wholesale stores after just 4 years. The supermarket chain did not disclose the number of new stores planned. Carrefour views India's 1.4 billion people, economic growth and urbanization as key factors driving this decision. Patrick Lasfargus, Carrefour's Executive Director of International Partnerships, noted that this move aligns with their strategy to expand into over 10 new countries by 2026. Carrefour, with over 14,000 stores worldwide, will be supported by Apparel Group, which already employs 24,000 people in India. India's push for more corn-based ethanol has transformed Asia's top corn exporter into a net importer, affecting local poultry and global supply chains. The shift follows India's January increase in ethanol procurement prices to favour corn over sugarcane. This move aims to cut carbon emissions and maintain low sugar prices, potentially driving up global corn prices. BGTN's business anchor Lorette Morgan has that story.
Booming Indian demand for ethanol has pushed corn prices to an all-time high. In Myanmar, the price went up to $270 per metric tonne from around $220. The jump in import demand comes after India hiked the procurement price of ethanol made from corn to drive a shift away from sugarcane-based ethanol for blending in gasoline. India usually exports 2 to 4 million metric tonnes of corn, but this year exports are expected to drop to under 500,000 tonnes. The country is set to import a record 1 million tonnes, mainly from Myanmar and Ukraine. Traditionally, the poultry and starch industries absorbed most of India's corn at around 36 million tonnes. Last year, however, ethanol distilleries started using corn, and the demand grew this year after the government abruptly curbed the use of sugarcane for fuel following a drought. Lorette Morgan, BGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
India's Adani Group has denied claims of involvement in a money laundering and securities fraud probe, which reportedly led to the freezing of over $310 million in Swiss bank accounts. US short seller Hindenburg Research, citing Swiss media, alleged that Swiss authorities are investigating Adani, claiming that funds were channeled through the British Virgin Islands, Mauritius and Bermuda to invest in Adani stocks. The Adani Group dismissed these allegations as preposterous and baseless, stating that they have not been contacted by Swiss authorities. This controversy continues a long-standing dispute between Adani and Hindenburg, which previously accused the conglomerate of corporate fraud, causing a significant drop in Adani's market value. In Kenya, a strike by the Kenyan Aviation Workers Union disrupted flights at Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport on Wednesday as staff protested a planned takeover by India's Adani Group. The walkout, which started at midnight, left passengers stranded outside the airport and caused traffic congestion. The union's demanding the government cancel its plan to lease JKIA to Adani for 30 years in exchange for $1.85 billion investment. Critics argue the deal could result in job losses and loss of future profits for taxpayers. The strike is expected to cause significant delays and cancellations. The government defends the deal as essential for upgrading the airport, which is vital to Kenya's economy. Meanwhile, in southern India, workers at Samsung Electronics are also on strike. They're demanding better wages, improved working hours and union recognition. The action that started on Wednesday involves hundreds of employees at a plant near Chennai that produces televisions and refrigerators. Now, this is part of a broader wave of labour unrest following a similar strike by Samsung workers in South Korea in July over pay and benefits. Despite the disruption, a Samsung India spokesperson assured that worker welfare is a priority and that consumer impact would be minimal. India, a key market for Samsung and a growing manufacturing hub, is attracting tech giants looking to diversify production away from China. And some sad news from South Africa. Pravin Gordhan, the anti-apartheid activist and former public enterprises minister, has died aged 75. Admitted to hospital earlier this week, Gordhan passed away peacefully, surrounded by family and friends. Over his career, he served as Minister of Finance, Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Public Enterprises and SARS Commissioner. He retired from government after the May elections and recently battled cancer. Coming up, BRICS Plus Sport.
Well, here we have it. Time to turn things around. You caught the taxi and watched the money drain out of your account. Now we're going to pay you if you are lucky enough to catch our taxi. Small problem. You've got to know a few things about BRICS. No, not the stuff you build your house with. Welcome to the BRICS on Wheels show.
For many, dance in Africa is a rich cultural expression, serving various purposes like entertainment and religious rituals. However, over thousands of years, dance in Africa has been used as a secret way to communicate, sometimes during birth and death, frequently to each other, and at times directly to the gods.
We begin in China, where lifetime bans have been imposed on 43 individuals for gambling and match fixing, according to state media. These include 3 former China internationals and South Korean World Cup player Son Jun-ho. This follows a 2-year investigation into corruption in Chinese football. The bans come just before a 2026 World Cup qualifier and after China's national team suffered a 7-0 defeat to Japan. The crackdown, led by President Xi Jinping, aims to address corruption in sports, but has faced challenges. Recent cases include the lifetime prison sentence of former CFA chairman Chan Zhuyan for accepting $11 million in bribes and former national team coach Li Ti's admission of accepting over $10 million in bribes. South Africa's Springbok rugby captain Siya Kolisi has left Racing 92, ending his contract 2 years early, the French top 14 club has announced. The The decision follows Kolisi's recent leadership in South Africa's 18-12 win over New Zealand and reports of his family feeling homesick in France. Kolisi cited the difficulty of balancing international duties with top 14 commitments as a key factor in his departure. He noted that playing for South Africa often meant missing 3 months of top 14 matches, impacting his performance and commitment to Racing 92. Kolisi, who joined racing last year, only made 18 appearances, scoring once. And Ranveer Singh of India has been elected unopposed as the president of the Olympics Council of Asia on Sunday in New Delhi. The 77-year-old shooter, a 5-time Olympian, will serve from 2024 to 2028. Singh, the first Indian to hold this position, received 44 votes out of 45, with 1 abstention. All other board positions were uncontested. Singh, who's been acting president since 2021, succeeds Kuwait's Sheikh Ahmed Al Fahad Al Sabah, banned for ethics violations. Singh previously served on the International Olympic Committee from 2001 to 2014. For more sports updates, check out our website and social media. Well, coming up, it's always intriguing to discover how and why artists select their subjects and what they choose as their canvas. South African artist Robin Rode has turned Johannesburg's neglected spaces into expansive canvases for his creations.
Coming soon on BRICS Global Television.
I remember being in the stadium, going into the stadium, and then there were kids outside asking for our autograph and things like that. And they really believed that we were these superhuman characters that were just used the wheelchair to get around, hidden superpowers kind of thing. And the stadium in London was sold out every single day. I mean, for that, it I think was both for the athlete and for people around the world said, you know, this is actually something worth watching. This is something, you know, that's worthwhile. We can take note of it.
And finally, it's often fascinating to learn about why and how artists choose their subject matter. It's equally interesting to find out what they choose as their canvas. Well, this South African artist, Robin Rode, has transformed some of Johannesburg's derelict spaces into a vast canvas for his work. Discovering a forgotten sports ground filled with grass, debris and old sports facilities, Rode, who grew up nearby, began drawing on this neglected site. Although he now lives in Berlin, Germany, Rode's work, which includes painting walls and creating chalk and charcoal drawings, remains deeply influenced by his hometown. His latest project, Joburg Hymn, uses the decay of local structures as inspiration, featuring drawings of everyday objects on the abandoned tennis courts. Collaborating with artists and musicians, Rode's work is showcased at prestigious galleries like Circa and Stevenson Gallery. Despite the crumbling infrastructure and political instability in Johannesburg, Rode sees this decay as a canvas for renewal and critique, aiming to revitalise and inject new narratives into the city's forgotten spaces. Well, that's it for this week. Join us again next time. Until then, log on to our website or follow us on social media and subscribe so you can get the latest updates first.